We're back, and you're back. Thank you for firing up this episode of the Chamber Connection podcast. This is the podcast where chamber leaders meet with ideas that work. You're in for a real treat with this episode, as Melanie and I have a chat with the rock star Keitha Robson from the Timmins Chamber. We aim to capture as much of Keitha's magic with her decades of experience and her unique approaches at running her chamber before she makes her transition to a new role. But don't worry, she's still within the chamber network. Keitha shares her insights on doing more by doing less, board management, and some lessons she's learned along the way that hopefully help you on your chamber journey. All right, well, welcome to a very exciting episode of Chamber Connection. I'm Steve, joined by my lovely co-host, as always, Melanie Fraser. And today we're pleased to welcome Keitha Robson, the CAO from the Timmins Chamber of Commerce. And Keitha has spent years leading, building, and strengthening her chamber and community. She's also been kicking ass and taking names, as they say, as an inspiring leader in the chamber network. So in this episode, we'll try to capture some of Keitha's lightning in this bottle of a podcast, and we'll dive into the wins, the challenges, the lessons that have stuck around for Keitha's years in this network as she's leaving a legacy and impression in the chamberhood. So Keitha, thank you so much for being here and being part of the show. Welcome to the Chamber Connection podcast.
Thanks for having me. I didn't know about the lightning in a bottle, or I would have brought a bottle.
Just what kind of bottle you bring, right? Are we
exactly
on conference or not? I love it. And Keitha, you're not like really leaving the network so much. You're just kind of transitioning with what you're doing with the network. So maybe we can touch on that in a little bit. But maybe just give us the deets kind of like on, so you're with the Timmins Chamber of Commerce. You've been there how long?
27 and a half years.
Okay.
Yep.
So not
June 1998. Yeah. You didn't have the internet,
You didn't have the internet when you joined as CAO.
Nope.
I love it. So you've seen some real progress then at the chamber. And,
sure.
And can you talk to us a little bit about your CAO title? Because it's unique within the chamber world. You see a lot of CEOs and executive directors. So were you always a chief administrative officer, or talk to us about that a little bit?
Well, I was not. I was hired as a chamber manager. We've always, at our chamber, it's always been a business title of some sort. So I was the general manager. And then probably about 12 years, but halfway through my career, we had a conversation. And they're like, well, because this was, the movement was afoot for a lot of chamber CEOs to become president and CEO, and our past presidents were not big fans of that. They liked their title of being president, and we thought it would be brand confusion, at least here in our community. So we figure I spend a lot of time with the city CAO, and really being the chief administrative officer is what I do here at the chamber as well. So they changed the title to align with municipality.
Yeah, that's totally fair though. And it's interesting in our community, ours have always been, our board presidents have always been chairs, so, but I can see where that would make a difference. And it just goes back to what we've always said, if you've seen one chamber, you've seen one chamber. Okay, so you joined Timmins 27 years or so ago. What were you doing before you joined the chamber world?
Oh, so many things. So originally from Nova Scotia, and I was married to a habitually unemployed tradesperson and told them to find a job. And I was working for the province of Nova Scotia as a corporate trainer, and thought, there must be government there I can go work for. And lo and behold, there's not much government other than municipal government in Timmins. And he went back to Nova Scotia and I stayed here, and we've decided that's a perfect distance for us.
Oh, great. I love it. So you brought a whole kind of toolkit of different skill set to the role then.
Kind of right out of the university into that, and so that was interesting. But yeah, and then I worked for the museum here for 2 years, which was very helpful because I know most things about Timmins history. So,
that would be helpful for the chamber. I love that.
That's very neat.
So if you're and I know Steve's got a question he wants to jump in on, but I guess for me, you've always just been a pillar within the chamber world, right? Like we all know Keitha because you're so accessible to everyone, right? You're generous with your knowledge and with your advice. We can get to killing Santa later. We can for sure talk about that. But when you think back to your chamber career, what are things that stand out for you as kind of your evolution and your progress? What are your milestones?
Oh, that's a big question, and thank you for being so kind with your words as well. But yeah, I think it is that network, and I've always believed that. And most of us have neighbors that some are closer than others. My closer neighbors are 3.5, 4 hours away, so it's not as much chamber pressure maybe here. And I've always kind of used those folks in my neighborhood to say, hey, what are you doing about that? So I've leaned on a lot of people over the years, and I always thought it was my responsibility to lean back. But things I've seen, well, the internet for one thing. So when I joined in 1998, we did not have the internet. I asked our board, our treasurer for it. He said it was a fad, so we could not afford the internet. We could not get it. So I actually had to talk our local telco into making our chamber office a test site for DSL, right?
Oh yeah, that's old school.
Yeah. So, and they also ended up giving me a cell phone because we didn't have a budget to have a cell phone. So I was on a local telco cell phone and DSL plan probably for about 8 years till I went back to the board and said, do we think the internet thing is sticking? So that's probably one of the big changes. But we were very much a community chamber, and we've evolved. And those things have been proud moments for me as well, because we are just a chamber. We do just business services now. We don't do, community development in that way. We don't host community events. We don't have a license bureau anymore. We don't operate a tourist information center. And while those are really important in other communities, our members really enjoy that they know that business is in the room and chambers in the room. So that's where we sit. So that's been an interesting evolution, but it's taken us 20 years to shed a lot of those identities.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That's very cool. Can you like elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I would like in the chamber world, you're always adding more and more and more. You always want to put on everything and be a part of all of those programs and deliveries. So what's that process look like? How are you, I guess, brave enough or what was that thought process on let's shift and only focus on this and be really champions of this and getting rid of some of those extra programs?
Yeah, well, I guess we asked the question, what is a chamber of commerce? And then what are we? And we had this kind of long list of a lot of service club type offerings. And then we talked about service clubs in the community that could maybe take that on. So again, when I showed up, we were operating a tourist information center, which we had been for 65 years for free for our municipality. We were operating a license bureau, which was not making us very much revenue. So we were spending a lot of time with that. And we just said, what if we didn't have these things and we had time just to focus on some of the things the business community needs? And our board really got behind that, but it did take time, and we just kept focusing on we want to be a business only organization. And so we used to host the Santa Parade. You don't want to talk about it yet, but we said there are other partners that are more well suited to do this, and we thought we would get a lot of backlash when we stepped away, and we absolutely didn't, because we were kind and generous in how we did it, and we're still supportive without being involved or being the lead. So sometimes chambers want to do those things, I feel, because they want to be relevant in their communities, or their members need them to do that. But our members didn't need us to do that. They were telling us in our member satisfaction surveys that those were not the things they wanted us to be doing. So we listened.
Have you seen growth in your membership over the 27 years because you've pivoted to be a little more crystal clear on what your identity is?
Well, yes. When I started, we had about 280 members, and we have about 650 members now. We've been as high as 840 members. So, I mean, it just really depends on where the business community is. We're pretty comfortable being able to serve 650 members. So that's still around a 40% penetration rate of our local business community. So we sit there and we're kind of comfortable with that. Membership numbers are not, I don't want to say uber important to us, but that's not how I believe chambers are successful. I believe chambers are successful in revenue generation, as well as, my dream is to only have 5 members, and I was hoping they would pay for it all for all of the businesses in town, right? So then everybody gets to be a member, but they're, highly subsidized by certain folks. I'm going to leave my career having not achieved that dream, but really that's where I kind of always wanted to take this chamber, was like, money shouldn't even be the barrier. So how do we get there? But yeah, I think, our members told us what they wanted, and that's what we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very fun model. Yeah, like having everyone access the chamber. That's a wonderful dream. Hopefully, maybe you still have that opportunity in the near future. Who knows? Yeah,
I have 2 months. Let's see if I can wrap this up.
Yeah, exactly. So you've taken on a lot. You've obviously put in a lot of time at your chamber. You've also been a big part in CCEC. Wondering, across all of your time in the chamber network, what are maybe some of those major challenges that have stuck out for you, that taught you a lot, that you've carried? Like, maybe this is something been further back in the day, or maybe something recent, but what are some of those challenges that have really stuck with you, that were some learning points for you?
Oh, well, just getting the internet, that was fun. Challenges. I probably look at that a little bit differently. I mean, there have been times that people have made decisions, and maybe it was the board that, I did not necessarily always agree with, but I always take the approach of, it is their chamber and not my chamber, and therefore I am just the delivery agent that is going to deliver that approach. Of course, maybe I can spin it a little bit to maybe soften it to get it a little closer to where I am more comfortable with it. But I really, like getting rid of our building, selling our building, that was a challenge, because it was like home for me for 24 years. And then we just sold it almost 4 years ago now. And like, letting go of the identity of the chamber having a building, letting go of some of these things have definitely been a challenge, but to know that it's for the greater good on the other side. I mean, just thinking you'll retire is a bit of a challenge, and handing over the keys to someone else, and understanding that my privileged time is done, and now it will be someone else's privilege to run the chamber. So I think there's a challenge in every kind of option that you look at for chamber work. Will we do this or that? Do we have the money to do this or that? All of those things show up, but I really think the opportunity on the other side of the challenge has always been worth it, at least in my opinion. It's just the getting there sometimes does hurt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting that you bring up like the board, because that's usually a pretty big subject for a lot of staff that are, in a managerial position, or like that head of the organization. And an interesting perspective that you have, that it's their chamber, not yours, sort of thing, which, it's always, kind of always is there, right? It's a board level. You take your direction also for membership. It's the membership organization as well. What has board management kind of been like with you over the years? That you would have seen a lot of different board members come and go, different personalities. How has that kind of reflected in your career there?
Keitha knows what I'm about to say. She meets with her board every 2 weeks, Steve. Every 2 weeks.
And
really?
There's 21 of them. So yeah.
Holy smokes.
If I had an award here, I would give it to myself in board management for sure. Yeah. So our board meets every 2 weeks, and they are 21, and we've gone through governance review to try and take that down, and there was absolutely no reason to do it. They all understand what their job is. We spend a good fair amount of time on onboarding, board training, ongoing board training. So I have a piece for them every board meeting on a board training piece that I share with them. We do exchange in between. I'm very free with information, but I don't talk a lot at a board meeting because they don't need me to. It's their meeting. It's in the title. So, our chairs come prepared. Yeah, I have heard a lot of stories about, board challenges, and I haven't had too many. To say I've had none would not be fair, but definitely our board manages itself, and because we have a really good succession process, they like train each other on things that are and aren't allowed. So I think, they talk to me all the time about, we know to stay out of operations. Oh, is that operational? Is that too close? They'll ask me where the line is. So I think that's, a benefit that, again, my successor will have had a very well trained board, and they know their role. So yeah, but trying to talk them into things has been a challenge from time to time, and I've had to be patient and resilient and bring it back different ways so that they hear a different story in order to achieve some things, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's listening to this though, and let's say they're new to the chamber world, or let's say they're struggling with the board, what do you guys talk about every 2 weeks? And do you do a full prep? So for my board meetings, I do, reports and some benchmarking to our strat plan. Do you do that every 2 weeks for them as well?
So strat plan they see every 2 months, every quarter at least. Yeah. They have report about like whatever committees have met in between. They have full reports for all of that. I meet with the chair every Monday morning. So they can basically anything that's going to show up on their board agenda, we're going to have talked about in the 2 weeks prior. I mean, they have control over what goes on the board agenda. So once they review it, they will ask me for details about something if they're unsure. But yeah, no, and they meet for an hour and a half and they're done, right? They have lunch, hour and a half, and they're out. But it keeps them really nimble, and they can comment on things that happened at City Hall meeting last night, or they can bring up member concerns that they just heard at the coffee shop this morning, kind of thing. So I feel like it's a really good flow of information. Plus, it keeps them really connected to the organization. And I always tell them you won't hear things on the street. You will have had the opportunity to know whether you chose to learn it or not, whether you read the email or did the work, but you will have had the opportunity to know. So I promise to not surprise them, and I appreciate the same in return.
And does it act as a barrier for getting people on your board because it's every 2 weeks? I mean, I struggle. We meet every other month in person, and I still struggle getting people to come to meetings. So I'm a little jealous right now.
Well, I want to give you a sad story, but I had like maybe canceled in my entire career 3 meetings due to a lack of quorum. So, we do hybrid, so they can, dial in from wherever they are. So that's helpful, especially here. We have a lot of operating mines. So folks getting it in and out of a mine site is a little more challenging. So, but no, we host elections every year. We have 6 spots available. We usually have 13, 14 people on a ballot for that. They know what the time commitment is beforehand. I have not, we have not seen it as a barrier. So the thought of preparing for a board meeting every 2 months is like, oh, but honestly, it's great to chat with them and pick their brains about things.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a standout moment. So if you ever get asked on a podcast again about what a standout is, like seriously,
managing a 21-person board that meets every 2 weeks for 27 years. Yeah.
The number one complaint, right? And we see it in our network. Some people get really blindsided by their boards. And so I think board management is one of the key parts of chamber world that doesn't get done well because it's overwhelming.
Yeah, no, and I've heard it numerous times, and I'm just like, I don't understand how it gets to that point. But I also like, personality wise, I don't have my friends on the board. They'll ask me in the nominations committee about certain folks, and I'll say no because they come to my house for dinner. So those people are out of range for the board. Unfortunately, they might make great board members, but I'm only going to be friends with my board members after their term on the board. I have the same rule with my chairs. We can be friendly, but we don't need to be friends, and we're not going to go out for drinks on a Saturday night or anything like that. If I happen to be out and I see you, that's fine. But and that's hard in a community our size, but still, I've really managed to do that for 27 years, and I feel like that holds kind of the boundaries there, and they will respect the role that I play, and I try to respect the role that they
Yeah.
play.
Good for you. Really well done.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you get all the awards. So you don't
And I
know.
have some really fun board members who like you'd want to be friends with. So, so anyways, I just collect them afterwards. I tell my past chairs that they're like, oh, do I get to be a Keitha friend? I'm like, oh, no, I don't think so. No.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Okay, that's like I'm still kind of stumped on that. Like really well done. That's amazing. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
It'd
think
be interesting to see.
I
Yeah.
think it's no different than, the same thing you want in a relationship. You want good communication, you want to stay in touch, you want to like all of those things. So I think as long as they're hearing from you, they don't feel like it's adversarial. I think
Right.
they want to know what's going on. That doesn't necessarily mean the details. It just means, oh, we've hired someone new. Okay, they don't want to come into the office and there's someone new, right? So I think, just keeping them in the loop of what I do, even operationally, not for debate, just for information. I think, then they become really good chamber ambassadors. And, I I've never had them be like, "Ooh, we need to go in camera to have a discussion about Keitha." Maybe they do it at a coffee shop. I don't know, but we haven't formally ever done that. So that's I always think that's a good sign.
Part of that might be too. I love what you said that it really is their chamber. And I'm a firm believer in that too. And I think it's because I sat on our board before I took over this role. And so I do think the board needs to understand, as do our members, this is yours. We are a conduit to making things happen for them, and we can advise and counsel on what we think might be the best way to do things. But at the end of the day, and that's why you always put a board member or volunteer in between you and a hard decision, it's their chamber, right? And so I wonder if egos kind of come into play with when you're seeing some board dynamics with executives that aren't working out well.
Yeah, and I'm not an ego, I know I do a good job. Like, it's proven. I have results, and those results are very important to me. Like, again, when I go to the end of the year to my performance review, I can outline, here's how we've improved over this year, and I did that, right? Those are mine. So no one can take those away from me. We can debate whether they were the most important things or not, but no one can take away the fact that I did those with my team, or I did those with the board, but I mean, they were my goals and I achieved them. So I think that's kind of what you get out of it. I think the rest of it is, yeah, I'm going to walk out the door, and this is all theirs to figure out what to do with next. And that's they're in a good place, right? So that's for me. I did that with them because 27 different boards. I've had probably 80 to 100 different employees, maybe more, because we used to have the license bureau and summer students and all of those things. So, I mean, there's been a lot of people involved in the success of this chamber, but I've managed the helm, so I'll just take that. And the ego part, yeah, I let them win it all. That's fine.
That's a great point. I love that. Same with our members.
Mm-hmm.
And, I do it a lot with our elected representatives. Let them get the win, like at the end of the day, because who cares? I mean, if, I've had board members who kind of want to stick it to the, administration when, I'll do a power hour panel and they'll say, why didn't you ask 4 or 5 follow-ups? And I'm like, that's not our role here. We're not here to embarrass people or to make them feel uncomfortable. We're here to promote accessibility, to give people access for questions to be asked. So
I rarely MC anything. I don't host anything. It's all them. Like they get so little in return for being a volunteer that the little bit of power or the little bit of presence that they may get from the role, I want them to have it. I'm going to prep them. I'm going to make sure they understand what the rules of engagement are. But yeah, I want them to have the exposure.
yeah, love it. Love it.
Amazing. Excellent. So kind of like going a little bit backwards here, but or going back in the steps here, but you were laying down some really great foundation for like what your perspectives are and how you kind of handle some stuff. But for some of those that might be new to the chamber network or maybe a little younger in their career, any advice that you would give them, that, or even to your younger self when you were first coming up? What stands out for you as maybe some key points to get them on the right track or onto on a good positive chamber track?
Ooh, even to my younger self, I probably would have let our chamber have its personality earlier in my career. I tried to like hold it to what I thought a chamber should be, you know, a little stuffier, a little more conservative, a little, and not politically conservative, but just conservative. And I think once we actually let our team and our board, you know, be a little more free speaking, we evolved with a personality of our chamber that our members are friends with. So I think that's important. I think developing that personality. Everybody that's ever heard me anywhere, they know I'm a big time blocker. So block your time, protect it. It is yours. You will never get anything done. You will say, oh, I'll do this on my own free time at night. That is not fair to your friends, family, and your soul. So block your time at work. I block it to do board minutes. I block it to, if there's something that needs a chunk of my attention, that time is precious, and block your calendar. My younger self, I probably also would have told to charge for things. People have to spend money in business, and we seem to be a little bit shy in the chamber world to charge for the value of things that we offer.
Mm-hmm.
Spend a lot of time cultivating a marketing distribution list and cultivating opportunities, and yet we go, oh, would you be willing to give us $50? No, like, what is fair market value? Get in there, because they are paying it everywhere else and they should be paying it to their chamber. So I don't apologize for membership fees. I don't apologize for sponsorship fees. We have a business awards that has 750 people at it. And if you want to be a business award sponsor, you are not, I can't do anything with you for less than $5,000 because it's just of such a scale.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't apologize for that because there's 750 people at our business awards. So this is the cost of playing in that game. So, you know, if you want a other opportunity of a smaller amount, I can find you something else, but it's not going to be the business.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
So
And really getting that focused, like figure out what your chamber really needs to, who your chamber needs to serve. And if it's the people that are paying you and it's your business members, you need to ask them what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well put.
We did a little bit of that here because we have our mayor's lunch once a year, and it's the most important people in the room. And literally we were charging like $80 for people to go to it. And I said, this is insane. We have to charge more because we're losing money on this. And it takes time, but you need to cultivate a feeling of wanting to be in that room, right? And sometimes you need to charge more for that so that you get those sponsor dollars. And I love that you say don't apologize, you know, because what we offer to our business communities is pretty spectacular for the amount that they pay for membership and sponsorship.
Yeah, no, I mean, our business awards ticket is not an inexpensive ticket. We have a not-for-profit category. We heard them that they couldn't necessarily afford to attend, but you know, for a table of 10, it's $1,750, whatever it is. And we're like, okay, but maybe you don't need to bring a whole table of 10, number one. So, you know, you're looking at a really big picture that's expensive. I get it. But then we talked to some of our other members and said, would you want to sponsor tickets for the not-for-profit finalists? Absolutely. Like, we can figure out what the barriers are without reducing our value, right? Like, we still need to get paid because that has costs, and you need that money in the bank for the days that you're not getting paid. So, you know, I'm never ashamed that we have money in the bank. I'm never ashamed to ask our businesses for support for things, because all the other things that we do for them that we don't get support for, all the advocacy work, all the policy work that we have a really hard time monetizing, that's how it gets paid for. So.
So do you?
Well put, because
Oh, sorry.
I just appreciate that because it's definitely something that's been on my radar for quite some time, right? Is making sure that chambers are are ran like a business. Make money, because it doesn't always come in, and when you do have those challenging times, you need those dollars in the bank. And then also too, you can make your other investments. So I just went over. I did a workshop with a few chambers here in Manitoba, and was all on, what do you do with reserves? What do you do with like, how do you get to that point, and investing in yourself, and making sure that you have the revenue, and things priced properly. So yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, our board would be terrified right now if we didn't have succession planning money in a reserve, right? So they're okay. We can cross train. We can, like, because they're like, well, we'll just take the money out of the succession reserve. Well, that's fair. So we've been preparing for that for 10 years because Keitha was going to leave someday. So, squirrel away a little bit of money into that reserve. And now the time is here. And if we need to hire executive services, if we needed to hire a lawyer, if we need to hire any of those things, they would have the money to do that. So there's no panic about it, because they're like, okay, we know what that money is sitting in the bank for. So I think that's really important to future plan your finances, because if we just had to take that out of a regular budget year and I announce my retirement in September, they're going to be like, this is a brand new budget, we didn't plan for this, we're going to be in big trouble. So when you alleviate people's anxiety around how do we pay for it, you can imagine to do all kinds of things.
So you've been putting money aside every year into a succession reserve.
Sure have.
I love it. And
Because it costs money.
Are you guys ONCA, or are you Board of Trade?
Are we sorry?
Are you Board of Trade or regulation, or ONCA?
Yeah, no, we're Board of Trade.
Board of Trade. So did you have to change your bylaws in order to add that reserve?
Nope, we just added as an operational reserve, but it's marked as succession. Yeah.
I think that's really smart. Yeah. Okay. So that's the lightning in the bottle. If they only stay to the 27 mark of the podcast. Yeah.
There it is.
I love it.
There it is. Yeah.
So
yeah,
kind of part of that, and this dives into what I wanted to talk to you about, is you have some really unique ideas. And I think it's because what's really struck me about you is that you take external education opportunities that aren't always chamber related. It strikes me that you go to the events conference every year in Toronto, which I think is really important, because I know we're not events based, but we host a lot of events, so they got to be special and good. And I know that you've always taken other opportunities to better yourself and your chamber. So can you talk to us a little bit about that, about when you started that, and how it's benefited Timmins in that way?
So I mean, I love learning from my peers, but I also feel like sometimes we're just recycling each other's ideas, which is exactly what chambers do. And we need a little infusion here and there. So I do attend the events conference each year in August, just to see kind of what's new or happening in the event space, just to try and figure out what we could do to. So one of the pillars in our strategic plan is about elevating the members' experience. So what better place to learn about that? And I always have to take, the Toronto version and scale it to the GTA of Greater Timmins area instead. So, like, I can't think of a great example right now, but even using a light curtain or those types of things, we see those at the end. We go, oh, okay. So we know our local high school has one of these. How do we use it? So, like, we're just always trying to figure that out. I also, when we really started down our path of advocacy work, I wanted to understand a lot about the municipality and how municipalities operate. So I did complete my municipal manager's certification. So I learned all about the Municipal Act and all of the rules and regulations that they're always saying are the reason why they can't behave a certain way. So now I can actually challenge some of those rulings with our city clerk and our city CAO, because I have the same designation that they do. And when it comes to municipal learnings, again, I don't have the day-to-day practice of it, but I did do the base, the coursework, and received my certification in municipal management. So I could have gone to work at the city, but it's the same as being on council for me. It's like, no, it's not my post-career dream job. And then, so I do a number of other, so trying to figure out what's happening with a lot of other industries. So we have members in various sectors, so insurance or financial services, or so I will try and be like, oh, are you having a conference? I went to our dental conference in Timmins because I wanted to understand, they were organizing a bunch of dentists doing PD, and I was like, all right, what do dentists need to know for PD? So I'm like, can I come to your conference? So, spend a day and a half learning about the world of business of dentistry, which are things that sometimes you can pull in and duplicate in chamber world. So, I think there's a lot of people talking about a lot of things, and I want to know some of it.
Do you think it's that curiosity that's allowed you to have a 27-year career and still be fresh with it instead of bitter?
Maybe, yeah. I'm not leaving because I'm, upset at my chamber, or,
Yeah.
I'm just leaving because I've done it for more than half my adult life. I think, my advice to our hiring committee was, chamber people don't really exist. I mean, we exist, but you're going to take someone and you just need them to be able to learn and want to learn.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to sit back and passively wait for chamber information to absorb into yourself, you're not going to be long for the chamber career world. But if you are trying to figure out how things work and are able to learn some of that, I think that's what makes you successful for sure. Yeah. Naturally nosy, aggressively helpful. That's what I call myself. So that's, my significant other will often tell people that I'm just sometimes, thoughtful to annoyance. So, we'll leave that there.
Yeah, that might be another podcast.
Let me help you across the street, but I wasn't crossing the street. Yes.
Yeah.
It's another chapter for your book about how to deal with boards and your board management and stuff like that. That's neat.
That's it, yeah.
That's fascinating that you get involved with so many different conferences or different learning opportunities and stuff. I find that so interesting. And because I don't know anybody off the top of my head at the moment that would be remotely, I don't even know what, curious or interested, but see the value in going to the dental association or something, some sort of conference.
Right now I'm organizing a physician professional development. I'm on the organizing committee for local physicians, but they'll come from the region and we'll do PD with local physicians. And I'm like, this is interesting to me. What do they need to know about? Yes.
Yeah, it's such an investment into your membership and your role. Definitely learning who makes up your membership and what their needs. Instead of just asking them, you just really immerse yourself and learn about. That's fascinating.
Well, and we get great advocacy ideas from that participation as well. So I will throw that out there, right? Because when we're sitting in a room as a guest of these associations, very often they're like, oh, here's the, burr in our saddle, if you will. And we're like, okay. And then we can bring that back to the chamber and kind of, flesh that out with them. So, yeah.
Good point. So you also have experience on the American side with, I forget all the letters, but
CCEC, yes, the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives. Yes, I sit on their board. Yeah.
What is your biggest difference? Like when you talk to American chamber leaders versus Canadian, where do you see the biggest differential?
Less apologetic.
Oh, in the States, yeah.
Less apologetic. It is a career. They move from state to state across the country. So once you are a chamber professional, very often they're a chamber professional in a number of chambers. So I always find that, there's very few of us in Canada that have done that. I mean, I could name names, but they'll know who they are. And mostly just you, Rory. But, folks don't see maybe the career the same way as being a chamber professional. And I very much try to aspire to be a chamber professional. That's what I do. So, I think that's one of the biggest challenges, but also their ability to raise community dollars boggles my mind, and I want to get some of that lightning for a bottle because I'm always like, let's raise this, because a lot of them do economic development as well, which is very different than the Canadian version. So that's what I've enjoyed learning about, really, is this profession, but also the ability to rally their communities to support some of that economic development work as well. So.
Well, and they can even designate themselves in a lot of category or a lot of communities so that they can get charitable funding.
Oh, they run foundations,
Yeah.
a 501c.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it all. So it is very interesting. And then there is a lot more examples of how regional chambers have developed, or how there have been more mergers. So I know in Canada we've had some of that conversation, and we've seen a few examples, but I think they've been doing it a little while longer. So I've really enjoyed watching that story. And for me being there, we were trying to also infuse the Canadian perspective of neighborhoods, and understanding a little bit more about Canada, because there is that not, I don't want to say a lack of interest, just non-interest, right? We learn almost everything about the States, but they're like, we learn everything about the States, but they don't learn much about anywhere else. So I think unless they're naturally curious about Canada, they don't have a lot of opportunities. So we were trying to bring that to them as well.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, love it.
And so some of what you're picking up from those, or maybe even some of like that, the strategy that they have, is that, do you see that kind of translating into Canada a little bit more? Do you see, like, what's a crystal ball kind of look like for you? Where's the network going? What's the future for local chambers across Canada in your perspective?
Okay, that's a big one. Um, so, yeah, no, I think chambers are going to have to definitely keep that value proposition. So I'm a big, I feel like the chambers really had their moment during COVID, because we showed as a nation right across this country how chambers were going to distribute information and keep the business community supported and all of those things. And that was, in my career, that was really a highlight of how important chambers are. And I'm concerned we're letting that relevancy slip away again. We're just falling back
Okay.
into bad habits, and people are maybe losing the memory of how important their chamber was in 2020. And again, like insurance, nobody likes to buy it for what if it's maybe going to happen. So I think chambers really need to rally around that. Let's share more resources with each other. Let's do more work together, and keep the workload a little lighter for all of us, and be more cooperative like we were in during COVID, and not working in isolation so much. So I think if chambers don't get these regional networks figured out very quickly,
yeah. Okay.
I think we're going to lose some small chambers for sure.
Yeah.
Because there's the economy of scale that you just can't get to, and that feeling of small town support is starting to fade away, because the people that live in your community may not even be from your community anymore, kind of thing, right? So we have this mobility, transferability, and yeah, I think we're going to have to show up in a bigger way, which usually costs money. So we have to figure out how to make that.
So when you say chambers are slipping back into bad habits, can you give maybe some examples of that, where if you're a new chamber leader, maybe what not to do? Do you know what I mean? Like what advice not to take?
Well, I think everybody needs mentors, and sometimes even your mentors will give you bad advice. I'm just going to say that. So you have to be able to sift through the sand and find the sand dollars. So just because you have someone to call doesn't mean that should be the person that you call every time. So because they may not have the same experience. So expand your mentor network. And when I say mentors, I'm just really saying, dial a friend. I think, we want to see more chambers partnering and less in the side. Yes, we are community chambers. Mm-hmm. However, our communities will benefit if other communities. So, if we have an issue here regionally and another community is experiencing a hardship, we want to reach out and we want to support them, because that is undoubtedly going to affect our local economy as well at some point. Maybe not the same, if 1,000 workers get laid off in Sault Ste. Marie, it's going to take a while for that economy to shuffle up to Timmins. However, I want to be on record that we are not going to stand for that in our resource sector, or Canada needs more things, those kinds of things. So I think finding ways to support your neighbors are a great way of initially setting yourself up as well, because then you become relevant. So Timmins wasn't always on a national scale, but now we feel quite well recognized as a policy producing, advocacy driven, membership based organization that took time and perseverance and helping our neighbors.
Because your voice, it really is, your voice is stronger when it's linked with others, even if it's not your story to tell. That's a really smart approach. Mm-hmm. Well, we're already at 42 minutes. I can't believe I could talk to you forever. I feel like we're in a hotel room with maybe a bottle of Fireball next to us, but that's for another conference.
A Fireball for me, but that's fine.
Gosh, yeah, I know you have a couple more questions you want to ask. You have anything else you want to get in there before we find out where Keitha's moving to?
No, because we'll end up going, again, down some more rabbit holes for hours here. No, we'll leave it at that. Maybe there's a 2.0 that we'll have to make happen in the near future, right?
Well, and Keitha, I'd like to find out where you're going. What we'll say is, for any newer chamber member or chamber leader that's listening to this podcast, is that revenue is always the most important part at the end of the day. You can't do the really important work that you have to do as a chamber if you can't pay your staff. So with that, we love to partner with Chamber's Plan. They are, a great source of revenue, I think, for all of us. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what your next phase of responsibility is in the chamber world?
Yeah, so I'll be leaving, local chamberdom, but I will be the new Ontario and Atlantic Regional Chamber Relations Manager for Johnston Group for Chamber's Plan. So my new role will be to support all of the chambers that are in that territory. I think there's 6 of us across the country that do this for chambers anywhere, but basically we will, support your chamber in developing your growth strategy for the Chamber's Plan and make you more revenue, as well as, help you work with your advisors in your communities. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know all the details yet, but I will, March 1st, I will be on the job. So
what are you most excited about that? I'm so curious.
I think, for me here at the Chamber, Chamber's Plan is, a significant stream of revenue for us. And we've seen that grow, and it could still grow. So I'm excited to see to learn all of the strategies and hear from the local chambers where their barriers may be, because I think this is a really easy kind of non-event based, non-dues based way to secure some revenue coming into your chamber. So we've seen some really successful chambers, and I want to help all of you get there as much as I can. So let's make some money.
It's very cool.
I don't apologize for it.
I hope you negotiated that you can still go to all the whatever conferences that you want to and be involved in whatever you need to be involved with.
I will never be far. I will just be a call away. But yeah, you'll still see me. Don't worry. There will be a chance for some Fireball somewhere.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, Keitha, you've been so generous with your time today. We want to thank you for spending your last few moments with us. And personally, as a newer chamber, network person, I've learned so much from you. Exactly in what you said, being definitive in what our value proposition is and not apologetic about it. I think has really been a good lesson for me. So I want to thank you for that. And you're a fellow ginger, so you know,
Well, ish.
I'm I'm ish now too. Don't worry. Past a certain age, I get a little extra help. That's for sure.
That's right.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and we're really looking forward to seeing you around and still learning from the legacy that is Keitha Robson
Well,
from
I
Chamber.
appreciate you both having me here, and yeah, I'm I'm uh, I'm blessed to have done this. It's been a privilege, but I'm moving on, and I'll be seeing you.
Awesome. Thanks again, Keitha. And that's a wrap on Chamber Connection with Keitha today.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.